So we want to start by trying to find a bar, and we're going to work on just how we're pressing our hand down into the bar. So if I just kind of lackadaisically put my hand on the bar, I don't get any real support through my shoulder or my core. If I grip the bar, I also don't get that support. So we really want to think about the connection between the palm and the sides of the ribs just below the armpit. I want to think about trying to expand through that area, almost thinking about pushing out from that area, and that's going to give me that support through my shoulder. As I press down onto that bar, I can really feel that that almost lifts me up. And that's where I'm going to be able to find that balance and support. It's going to help me in terms of my bar work. So it's really about that connection of the palm and the sides of the ribs expanding out. What we're going to do from here is we're going to take a little bit of a développé. So we're going to find both of our hands on the bar to start. I want to feel that pressure of just pushing down, make sure I get that good engagement on the sides of my ribs to begin with, finding that connection. And then from there, I'm going to take just a little bit of a releve, a little bit of a balance, whatever I want to really just feel that support through. Then I'm going to start to go into that développé. So the idea is that once I find that connected position, I really want to feel how I'm structuring through that support leg. So I'm tucking my pelvis underneath me a little bit. I'm expanding through those ribs. I'm lifting up, but I'm also pushing into the ground. Now, as I get into that position where I slowly start to take that développé, I really want to think about how I'm pushing down in that supporting leg. So my weight may shift a little bit, and that's okay for me to change my position on the bar, but I don't want to let my hip collapse. That's the main key. As I take that développé front, I'm really thinking about that connection to my psoas. So I'm using my psoas as what moves that leg. And I'm still creating that connection of the expansion of my ribs out as I come through this position. Now, when we take a look at this from the side a little bit more, we're going to do a different exercise, which is going to help us in terms of compression. But again, as I push down onto that bar, that's what gives me that support structure as I open up through those ribs. If I compress in my ribs like I did here, I'm not going to get any support. So I have to lift up through my ribs. That's what's going to give me the support. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to think about taking that same position that we did in terms of taking the leg back, lifting it up, and then going through our breathing of expansion and compression, inhalation and exhalation. So as we talked about, the idea is that as I inhale, I expand and I lift through. As I exhale, normally I compress. But here, I'm going to try to actually stay expanded. So I first get that connection to the bar, the palm and the rib cage. I lift that leg to the back. I find that support on that leg. Then I'm going to inhale, and then I'm going to exhale. As I exhale, I can feel that my whole body wants to naturally drop down because my rib cage compresses in. So if I can, on my inhale, expand my rib cage out, it allows me to lift up further. As I exhale, I want to think about still trying to keep that lift and expansion through my body as much as I can. If I'm doing this properly, it should be quite difficult to maintain this position. So we only want to do it for a little bit of time. Again, the whole idea is on the exhale, normally we compress the rib cage. Instead, we want to think about still trying to lift the rib cage. So I inhale and I lift. Even as I exhale, I still keep lifting. I inhale and I lift. As I exhale, I try to stay lifted. I'm really trying to stretch the body apart. That's the goal. And when I'm in my balances, instead of just falling into my balance, I really want to think about trying to find that lift because it's going to give me the support structure that I need to be able to just hold a balance super duper easy. So the final thing that we're going to do is we're going to map how our arms are moving with our rib cage. So we're going to use a visualization. We want to think about when we're moving our arms that our rib cage is also moving. So we're going to close our eyes. And then from here, I'm just going to visualize the idea of taking my hands through a port de bras. So let's say going from first position into second position. And I want to almost visualize in my mind what's happening, use my rib cage as the lifting mechanism to get my arms to move. But as I'm going through this visualization, I'm really imagining that my arms are moving through that position, and I'm letting my ribs expand to allow my arms to float up. Once I'm done with mapping that visualization, then I'm going to take the actual action. So I'm going to expand through my ribs. I'm going to feel how that energy moves out from my fingers, keeping my ribs lifted, allowing it to just float very easily up and down. Again, the expansion through the ribs is what allows the arm to stay connected even when we come fifth on O. So the whole idea is that as I'm coming up and down, I'm letting the ribs be what guides that movement of the shoulder itself. As I lift the arm up and to the side, the ribs are what do it, not the arm itself. This is going to help me to have effortless port-de-bras. So the final thing that we're going to talk about here is just the idea of hip position. Instead of dropping down, as we normally do when we go into our développé, we really want to think about lifting up. And instead of allowing that hip to come forward, I want to try to think about spreading those hips away from each other. So what this is going to do is it's really going to start to challenge my turnout, and it's going to teach me, instead of rotating, to actually open up through both hips and engage through that so as I take my développés.